3, 2.
Welcome to the show. Today we have a special guest. His name is Kwelagobe, a politician, a businessman, and also a son to a political veteran who's celebrated in Botswana. So today we're going to dive into his personal life, in his business endeavors, and everything. Welcome, Kagiso.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
I usually don't do this, but yeah.
You did say that.
Yeah.
So we should count ourselves like we saying yes to this.
Yeah. So but I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just start at the beginning. Just tell us where did you grow up and stuff, and your schooling.
In the beginning, well, I was born on the 1st of September.
Okay, that's the beginning.
Yeah, that's the beginning. 19 something.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I actually share a birthday with my dad.
Oh, okay.
He's also the 1st of September. But yeah, I did my schooling at Thornhill. Thereafter, from Thornhill, my parents shipped me out to South Africa.
Boarding school.
Yes,
Yeah.
to boarding school. I went there I think it was I was in standard 2.
Standard 2.
Standard 2, yeah.
Boarding school.
They shipped me out to boarding school. I was very naughty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was a bit of a problem.
Was that those boarding schools for like Catholic churches and all boys?
Yeah. It was a co-ed, but it was a Catholic boarding school. Kingswood College. It's in Kingswood is in Grahamstown.
Yeah.
South Africa, just by Port Elizabeth in the Eastern Cape.
Okay.
So how it came about for me to be for my parents to make that decision.
Okay.
Actually, was that I've always been a people's person.
Okay.
I think I get it from my father.
Okay.
I've always been a people's person. I've never used to, discriminate on who I can be with and who not. Given who, my parents could be in society, I hung out with everybody. Everybody was my friend.
Okay.
And I think I took that a bit too far the one time when my parents, they used to be Main Mall. There used to be some shop, the Eric said hamburger, like fast foods.
Oh, okay.
It used to be called King's Fast Food.
I don't remember it.
In the main mall.
Yeah.
So every day after school, I would head out there.
And that's standard 1.
It's standard 1, standard standard 1.
Yeah.
I'll head out there, and until there was a time when the former first lady.
Okay.
At the time.
The former first lady, which is
at the time Ile Mamogai.
Oh, okay.
Ile Mamogai. I think she had seen me because, like I said, I've always been very welcoming and very open with everybody. So I used to hang out with the guys who used to wash cars.
Oh.
So I used to hang out with them. Like I would go after school, I would go to King's Fast Food and then, come back with some food and then we'll sit down, and hang out, and then, I'll eat with them and, help them wash the cars. And I think the one time she saw this and, she just, notified my parents that, hey,
Yeah.
What's going on,
Kana o thatswa dikole ko
kana
main mall.
o tlhatswa dikole mo main mall. And so that is when my parents were like, okay, no, look, I think maybe in as much as, yes, we understand that he's an embracing young man, but let's maybe take him out of this environment. And that's actually how I ended up in Kingswood, in boarding school in Grahamstown. And I was there for 14 years until I matriculated there.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So then you came back to Gaborone.
No, then I didn't come back to Gaborone. Well, afterwards I took a gap year.
Oh, okay.
I took a gap year, and then I went I was in Israel.
Oh.
I went to Israel, just outside Israel. Just outside Tel Aviv.
Okay.
It was called the kibbutz. It's like it's also a sort of community where you go there, and then you it's like a community development sort of.
But what did you decide on the gap year, and why did you decide on Israel?
Because after I matriculated, everybody was going to America, and everybody was going to UK.
When you say everybody, you mean people like you?
But, no, I mean the matriculants.
Okay.
Yeah, so for your gap year.
Everybody is not us.
Oh, the matriculants.
Okay.
Yeah, so some would, there were, everybody was going, all over the place. I decided to go to Israel because one of my other friend, Camilo, he was also going to Israel, and he was going to the kibbutz, and it sounded interesting, and it was something different, and I didn't want to sort of follow the crowd, and so so we went to so I went to Israel. Okay. To Tel Aviv, to the kibbutz Yakum. I was there for just over a year.
Okay.
And
how was life there, like in Israel? Because I imagine Israel as this holy place that Jesus walked.
Yeah. I also had that impression at first, but Israel is. Israel was. It was a very humbling experience for me. Because at the kibbutz you actually you work, you work for your money. You go there, you work. So I used to be in the maintenance department.
Oh, okay.
I used to drive a tractor. We used to go, so it's like a big village. So I used to drive the tractor, and we used to do maintenance. We used to get.
So you learned life skills.
I learned the life skills there.
Okay.
So it was a very good foundation for me. Okay. And you are there with people from all types, from all parts of the world, Colombia, from everywhere.
Okay.
And to coexist with them and to live in this community and to create these friendships and to create these bonds and to work together and to learn different languages, and so it was a humbling experience, and I really enjoyed it, and I was grateful that I was afforded the opportunity to go there.
And then let's obviously you came back after that, and you decided on your, I don't know, did you go to university after that?
Yeah, so then I came back. Then after my gap year, I came back and then then I was in Pretoria at Varsity College for 2 years, studying there, and then immediately after Varsity College, I came back I came back home, and that is when I immediately went straight into business.
Okay.
I've never been an employee per se.
Yeah.
Then I went straight into business, and that's really where it started.
So now you are coming back to Botswana, and now in Botswana, people know your father, and they see you as this son. How was life like then? did it come with blessings, or was it a curse that you are this famous person's son and people expected much from you?
I did not know how to. I from when I was born, he was already who he was.
Yeah.
And I knew life like, just the way it was.
Just normal.
You get what I mean? Yeah. It is something that, when it wasn't like a sudden transition. I opened my eyes from birth. It was like that, and I wouldn't say that it was a burden, because I hadn't experienced life without it.
Okay.
Until until when he stopped being in cabinet, and when he stopped being a member of parliament. So I wouldn't say it came with perks, or that is that life. That's all I knew. And also, it was a very wholesome environment and humble environment, and that my parents had always taught us not to ever think that we're above anybody.
Okay.
You get what I mean? And it was they always instilled the sense of humility, and being good to people, and embracing other people, and not being thinking that you are better than other people. And it's something that even up to today we still carry it, and so we haven't. For me, it was...
it was never like that.
Yes.
Even the treatment from people, it was just the same.
Even the treatment from people, it was just the same. And also because I never expected to be treated differently.
Yeah.
And, and hence why, I had so many friends from different walks of life. Because I never used to see people for who their status, or for who they are in society, or for
because I grew up in Gabs. I remember, I think you don't know this, but I remember seeing you're always surrounded by like a group of guys.
Oh,
you were like always there's always a group of guys surrounding you.
Well, I had a lot of I still do, but obviously as you grow, and as you progress in life, progress in the sense of getting married and having kids and whatever. So that number will go down.
Yeah.
And it was at the early stages, like in my teens. Yes, I always used to go around and cruise and all of that. And it wasn't a crew it was a crew of just people from all walks of life.
Okay. And you just touched a bit about your marriage. Let's just go into that, your personal life. Let's just tell, how was it like now getting married?
Marriage taught me a whole, when you're in your teens and you always say, look, I want to get married, I want to have kids. Yes, fine. But, in between that, you're working, and, you want to make money because you want to drive a flashy car, and you want to live this certain life and all of that. And unfortunately, because I went straight, into business, it really took time. It took time to a point where, when I made my first bit of money, I decided rather than buying a car or being flashy, I invested in property.
Oh, okay.
Do you get what I mean? And, then after that, accumulated a bit more. Then I met my wife.
Okay.
Then it was a catch-22. Okay, but when am I going to get to enjoy? And when am I going to, my friends are doing this, my friends are, buying cars and doing all sorts of things. When am I going to get to? But then, I realized after, I met my wife, beautiful wife, love her to death.
Yes.
Love her to bits. And, we're blessed with 2 beautiful children.
Wow.
But after I got married, my whole purpose of life changed.
Yeah.
In the sense that it was no longer about me. It was no longer about me wanting to drive these flashy cars and me wanting to, live this certain life. But it changed to about, okay, building a foundation and building an environment for my wife and my children to make sure that, they live a comfortable life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I saw your wedding pictures online, and I saw it was a beautiful wedding. There was even Mayor Botswana Khumalo.
Yes. Yeah.
Just tell us about that relationship with her.
Oh, with her. So, Botswana is my aunt.
Oh, okay.
She's my cousin, but the cousin that you call
an aunt.
You call an aunt from my mom's side, because my mom was actually a Makalemele before she got married. For Everton in South Africa.
Okay.
In South Africa, and then my old man whisked her off her feet, and then she came here. So that is where the Botswana, that is where the Botswana relation, that is where comes in.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Let's just dive into your weight loss journey, because I've seen you before, and then when I saw you again, I was like, wow, this is a transformation. Just tell us about what decisions you took and what did you do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always been overweight.
Okay.
I've always been obese per se.
Okay.
And like I did tell you earlier in the interview that that from a very young age, Kings,
hamburgers,
hamburger and all sorts of things, So so I've always been a big kid, and as I grew older and older and older, it got worse and worse and worse and worse, and to a point where at one point at my peak I was 238 kgs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was 238 kgs. And then I reached a point where it was just, I was working and I was doing all sorts of things, I had friends, I really, I must credit my friends. I really had a good, solid group of friends around me, to a point where they were comfortable with who I was.
Yeah.
And they were never embarrassed, and they were never ashamed of being associated with me. And it's something that I really appreciated. But equally, I realized it's something that actually made me prolong the whole thing.
They were like enabling the whole thing.
Yeah, because I was just so, I was so comfortable, and until it reached a point where I could feel that, okay, but I'm working so hard, and I want to get married, I want to have kids, and I want to do all of these things, but how am I going to achieve those things if I'm at that point? I was the doctor said, you're a ticking time bomb.
Oh, okay.
And then I was like, but what is the point? So I continued, and I was, tried so many weight loss programs, these off the shelves, some injections, and tried all sorts of things. But at that point, to come from 238 and to even say, okay, look, I would like to lose 50 kgs, just 50 kgs.
You tried it the natural way first.
Yeah, well, we tried the natural way because, tried the natural way. I don't want to mention the names, but all the different types of products. Yeah, all the different types of products. There's so many of them. Tried them. It didn't work. And some of them, it was, look, you can lose up to 3 kgs a month. And, I'm here and I look, I need to drop at least 50 or 60 kgs. Okay. So the only other option was it to be done surgically.
Okay.
So I once again, the very same, I call her my guardian angel because the very same person, former First Lady, told my old man that, look, Ghana, somebody within my family had undergone this type of procedure.
So the First Lady is Mamrai?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we are, Kagiso, maybe it's something that he might be interested in because, everybody could see that I was, I was a big kid. So that was then. And, for 5-6 years, it kept on going. The idea was there. But, when you undertake these things, you need to be in the right frame of mind. You need to, you need to be in a very, very solid,
mentally and
physically, you need to be mentally prepared.
Yeah.
And in fact, the more somebody says, no, but do it, the more you won't do it.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? And, then it got painful. It started taking its toll. And like I said, I had, bless them, man, a good set of friends.
Yeah.
I mean, just to show you, my friends.
Yeah.
So these plastic chairs the normal plastic white chairs.
Yeah.
I couldn't fit into those chairs.
Yes.
But whenever we would go to a party, or we know that, okay, I'll know that, okay, I'm picking up my boys, and then we're going to this party or whatever, they'll actually make an attempt and say, look, you don't need to pick me up. You'll find us there.
Yeah.
So they would go ahead
and
go and have a look.
Yeah.
And if it's those white chairs, to try and at least sort out, some type of, you understand, so that at least when I get there, I'm comfortable. Not doing it in the sense of, no, but doing it in the sense of, what, we don't want him to have the embarrassment of getting there and then, there's no way he can sit.
Yeah.
Because I'd broken many of those white chairs before as a result of being overweight. So, and it's just those silent things that, for me, and they still stuck by me and they were still my boys and, we still, so, and then it reached a point where I was like, and sometimes we'll be driving and, I'll be breathing heavily and whatever. And, when somebody looks at you and you can see that there's that worry in his eye, but he doesn't really want to say it. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
But I could read it and I was like, you know what, I think
it's time.
I think it's time.
But also that decision for you to really go surgical, it's a very, I don't want to say dangerous, the way you think about it, that's why maybe you're stalling. It's because when it's in your head, you think, this is surgical, so I can't just go in and do it.
Oh, yeah. And also these types of surgeries, because many people think that, you are taking the easy way out, when it's not actually taking the easy way out, because there's a whole lot that goes into it. Like you need to go, they need to prepare you mentally. They, people think it's about, no, you're going to do this thing, you're going to eat less, and then, you're going to be fine. No, there's a lot that goes into it, especially from a preparatorial perspective, where you have to make sure that, you see a dietitian. They make sure that you lose
before you go in.
I heard
about
at least
that.
15 kgs before you go for the surgery, because they need to see how determined you are to actually do the surgery. And while you're at it, you're going for therapy for them to prepare you on the changes that are going to happen.
Yeah.
And I never used to understand why it was necessary to undergo therapy, because for me it was just until I actually post the surgery. You know, when you go to, I mean, my sister was in university in the States, in America. So I never could buy clothes locally.
Yeah.
So she always used to buy my clothes and send them, because there you could get
Any
5XL,
size,
6XL, and whatever. And so, you know, once you've done, so then okay, maybe to go back a bit, then then I did the surgery, right? But you know, just before I went in for the surgery, mind you, when I was programmed and when I decided that I'm going to, you know, go undertake this path, my parents didn't even come with me, because I wanted to be my thing.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want them, you know. It was my own. It was my own sort of journey, and having them there would have made me anxious and whatever. You get what I mean? So, you know, I literally got in the car and went to South Africa.
Yeah, that showed that you were ready.
Yeah. And when I was so luckily, before my aunt Enabasana moved to Cape Town, she was living in Joburg. So it was just me and her at the hospital. And the moment I was about to go into theater, so I was very anxious and nervous. Now it's hitting, and that okay.
Now you realize why you needed therapy.
Yeah, now like this is about to happen.
Yeah.
So my blood pressure went through the roof. So now I'm sitting on this.
Because with the blood pressure, you can't
and
go
the
under
doctor's
the knife.
like, look, we can't do anything. You know, when
your blood pressure is up
like this, maybe we should reschedule. And I was like, if we don't do it, I don't think I'll ever be able to do it. And they're like, no, but the blood pressure is too high. And then so they went out of theater, and my aunt, very devout Christian, she stood there, and then we held hands, and she prayed. She prayed. Then they contacted. Then they called my mom.
Yeah.
It's amazing how a mother's voice. And I spoke to my mom on the phone, and she was calming me down and said, look, don't worry, and whatever. And as I'm talking to her, like the blood pressure is dropping.
Wow.
The doctor's like, okay, no,
let's do it.
Let's go in. Yeah. And so that was it. So the therapy side, where it comes in and where it helped, was now I'm going into now. Look, after the surgery, now you're losing about 6-7 kgs a week.
Yeah. A week.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the initial stages was ridiculous. Yeah. Okay. So I was losing about 6 or 7 kgs a week, because mind you, the procedure itself, you know, but my stomach is the size of.
What is the procedure?
So it's called a gastric bypass. Yeah. But mine was sort of like the how can
the sleeve. I remember there's something called
there's the sleeve, then there's the gastric bypass, and then there's like now the hectic one, which is called BPD, which is biliopancreatic diversion. So now that is now for extreme cases.
Yeah.
Like where I was, it's a bariatric center of excellence. So it's not, you know, these other ones where you see on Facebook, no, take a trip, you get a ticket. And no, it's a center of excellence that focuses on, you know, on large people. I mean, where I was, there was a guy who had come in, and they had to cut the roof of his bedroom and put him on a flatbed truck, because you couldn't fit into an ambulance and take him there. I think he was Saul was about 420 about 400. So it was, and for me, the doctor was like, I'm the smallest guy.
Because you were like 230.
Yeah, I was 238.
Yeah.
I was like the smallest guy.
Yeah, because that's like double his size.
I was like the smallest guy he's done. So, but it was the best decision that I could have ever made for myself. It changed. It changed my life drastically.
Yeah.
I was pre-diabetic, cholesterol, you name it, blood pressure. Like I said, the doctor said, Kagiso, you're a ticking time bomb. You know, so it managed to reverse all of those things.
Okay.
And I'm grateful that I undertook it, and I was still on the therapy side. So now you're seeing yourself now being able to go into Edgar's or whatever, any retail clothing outlet. And you go there and you're like, okay, no, you're still there thinking that mentality, okay, maybe, I've lost 20 kgs, maybe 5X is fine. And then you put on a 5XL shirt, and then the sales is like, no, I think maybe 2XL would be. And then it's like,
you are not used to it.
Oh my God. Like this is really this is really happening type of thing. So so that was my story on that front. And from then I've always been an advocate for obesity and weight loss, in the sense that for those who there's some people that 3 people that I saw them, and and you see somebody and they're struggling, and you go up to them, and I'm like, what, please don't think that I'm insulting you or whatever. I know exactly what you're going through, and I think that I can help you. You understand what I mean? Because I know the pain, and I know the stigma, and I know the suffering that comes with it. And mentally it affects you. It affects you as well. So I've always wanted to be that person who's able to assist where he can and help people, especially when it comes to obesity, because as a country, obesity is a serious problem. We need to watch
those, what do you call it, non-communicable diseases?
Non-communicable diseases. So it is, because it's just the same way as you have drugs, just the same way as you have alcohol abuse. Food is a drug, can be a drug in itself. You understand?
Okay, let's just talk about the business part of you, like a businessman. You were saying. Okay,
I'm gonna have to cut this part. How are you maintaining the lifestyle? I need that. Yeah.
Okay.
She just continues. You're just talking to her.
Okay. All right.
Okay. How are you now maintaining this lifestyle now?
Well, I'm maintaining the lifestyle because some people, you just need a boost.
Okay.
You understand what I mean? You just need a boost, and because they take your stomach. Obviously, your stomach is about that big, and then they cut it to the size of an egg. So you can't really take in much as you would. I mean, in the beginning, I couldn't even finish a chicken wing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so in terms of, now you are able to exercise. Now you are able to, move around and eat healthy, and eat normally, not being able to, order a full chicken and polish off a full chicken. No, you're able to just eat normally like a normal person, and you are full, and the only dangers with it is that you have to make sure that because you can go a day without eating. And forget, because food is no longer important to you.
Okay.
You get what I mean? And
so you're always full.
Yeah, well, no, not always full. That you always need to make sure that, you know, you have your breakfast, you have your lunch, and you have your dinner.
Okay.
You understand what I mean? And in between, you're able to, you know, snack in between or whatever.
Okay.
Because when psychologically, you might think, oh no, I'm eating too much 6 times a day. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to my old weight. But you're not realizing that you are not eating as much as you used to eat.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? So that is the difference.
Okay. So are those the only side effects of it?
Yeah, those are the only side effects that I have had from it. Okay. And obviously, because I'm not taking in as much and nutrients as you know, if you are gonna have a full plate of chicken, rice, vegetables, I can't eat all of those things. So I supplement it with supplements.
Oh.
Yeah, so I have to take supplements for the rest of my life, which is far better cry than having to take blood pressure medication.
Like lifestyle change.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the business part of you. Like I see that you used to have O3 water. Let's just take us through the journey of O3 water. Or is it O3 beverage?
O3 beverages. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I was once in the water business, bottled water business. In fact, it was a group of us. It was 4 of us. We were presented with the opportunity to take over this brand.
Okay.
And this brand had been in the market before, and it had sponsored one of the soccer teams, but you know, it didn't quite take off. So it was really quite defunct at the time, and you know, there were issues with the shareholders. So as part of their deal, it was okay. Look, we'll take over the water business.
Oh, okay.
And then so one of my friends came with the opportunity and said, look, my other friend, there's this opportunity at this water business, you know, do you think we can do it? You know, why don't we go into it and, you know, take over it, you know, and see what we can do with it. And it was the 4 of us, yeah. It was the 4 of us. Then we agreed, look, okay, let's see what we can do. At the time, we're still young, you know, energetic, and, you know, it was like the sort of first real, you know, opportunity that had come our way, well, for some of us, you know, because before we were, you know, started, you know, Auto Inquirer, which was a publication, dikoloi that we used to distribute. So this was like the first real opportunity for us, and at the time we took over, I think the sales were about 2,300 pula a month, and we grew that by over 1,000% within a space of 12 months.
Oh wow!
So we, you know, it grew exponentially. It was all over, and you know, we managed to get good trading partners, managed to get distribution, you know, to get it throughout the whole country, you know, in the national airline, it was there, you know, we managed to get it over, you know, we managed to get it everywhere. So yes, we were part of O3 until it reached a point where then we had grown it to a certain stage where now, I mean, the borders now at the time, I don't know if you remember when the borders were being now closed for bottled water, you know, so that we can, because we're sustainable locally, to be able to sustain the water market and to grow other businesses locally. That's why, you know, because then before there was still Bobonaqua, Aquel, all these other brands, and you know, so we were able to actually give, you know, the likes of your giants, the likes of KBL, a run for their money. We were number 2 in terms of sales for a very long time. until it reached a point where, we grew to a certain stage where the then shareholders gave us an opportunity and said, look, why don't you guys just, buy the entity for X amount. Okay. So we then went around, tried to hustle, see if we could get some funds to be able to buy the business. And unfortunately, the business had grown so exponentially that in itself was a risk. Yeah. And as young entrepreneurs, we couldn't understand that, we've taken this thing from here to there. Now it's a problem. You're growing too quickly. You get what I mean? So it reached that point where at the end of the day, then it was like, okay, look, then let's just, do away with O3. Yeah. And then the one of the major shareholders then bought us out. Okay. And then that is how the partnership with O3 ended. Okay. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the is it Profalt? How do you...
Profalt.
Yeah.
Yes, Profalt started 8 years ago. Yeah. It started 8 years ago. I was out in Durban and KwaZulu-Natal. Yeah. I had gone for I think it something work related. Yeah. And then I saw these vehicles outside the convention center where we were, and I was just mind-boggled by the way they were repairing potholes and doing road maintenance. I actually didn't go back because it was a 2-day. I was there for 2 days, and it happened on the first day of that workshop. Yeah. Our first break, the first break, Gabo 10, the first tea break. I actually didn't end up going back for the 2 days that I was supposed to be there because then I spent the whole day just watching this, talking to these guys who were, because, then I was like, okay, I'd really like to meet your boss and whatever. No, he's actually out he's overseas, but luckily he's coming back this evening. So I waited for him. We came the following day. He's like, okay, come the following day. Yeah. And I was like, and I couldn't, when he said come the following day, I couldn't say, but Ghana, I'm on a workshop. So I had to, so I had to literally leave everything because I saw the opportunity from the word go. And I was like, this is something we could definitely use at home. Yeah. And this is something that can definitely, help us and how, improve the roads infrastructure back at home. And and that's how it happened. We met, I grabbed the bull by the horns and spoke to them, and they were impressed. They're like, okay, we'll help you out. And then that's pretty much how the whole Profalt story started. Yes. And it was tough. Yeah, it was tough
at the beginning.
At the beginning, like I said, it started about 8 years ago. Yeah. And I only got my first pilot, because we're trying, knocking on doors, and it goes back to that thing of humility and what my father instilled in us. Yeah. That people couldn't understand, but Chief, you are his son and you are struggling to get this thing going. Yeah. And he always said that no, I'm not going to
help you.
I'm not going to help you. Okay, you need to be able to do things for yourself. Yeah. And when you achieve something, there's nothing more than knowing that you achieved it by yourself. Yeah. You understand what I mean? And not that because you are able to attain this. Okay. You get what I mean? So that is really how the whole Profalt journey started. And
what is it about the technique? The technique, I hear that you are using some sort of a technique.
Yeah, so there's a specialized technique that we use and products that we use, in the sense that, the normal pothole, how you would fix it is that you would dig around that pothole, cut and then throw away all the excess, debris, and then go and get cold mix, put it on, tap it on the pothole, and then roll over it.
Yeah.
So now what we do is a method that uses what you call infrared heating, where we heat the surface of the road to about 300 degrees Celsius, and then we use the same existing road material on the side to then fill up that pothole with the existing surface material.
Yeah.
And then within our vehicle, we've got this specialized vehicle that is a mobile, what you call a mobile panel van, which has a hot box inside. So it also has hot asphalt that as it's sitting there. So now you are taking a hot product and putting it onto a hot surface. So that is why whenever we are done with fixing a pothole, you give an 18-year warranty. I mean, 18-month warranty. Sorry, we give an 18-month warranty, which is unprecedented. Your normal warranty, the longest that you will get in the conventional method, is 3 months.
Yeah.
Because our technique and our methodology is more of a permanent fix rather than a temporary fix.
Okay.
To this day, we've done about 23,000 square meters of pothole repairs.
Okay.
We have only had to go back and redo those potholes. This is over a period of 2 years.
Yeah.
We have only had to go back and do, I think it was about 27 square meters.
And we do have a problem of potholes in
yes, we
I
do.
would say Gaborone because that's where I'm driving.
Look, anywhere where there's asphalt, it's a asphalt road, you have issues with regards to potholes. But I think being enterprising and being always wanting to think outside, always wanting to think outside the box, we came up with initiatives because we know that government is challenged currently in terms of funds, and but as the private sector, what is it that we're doing to at least help government in terms of delivering services without necessarily wanting money from them?
Is that why you guys donated is it 1,000
100,000 worth of pothole repairs. Yes, so that was just us, sort of, giving back to, to and answering the call following the devastating floods.
Yeah, because that was after the floods.
Yeah, that was after the floods. So that was our contribution to it. But currently we are now we're almost about to. We're almost about to launch a very exciting program.
Okay.
A private-public partnership with the private sector and the local municipality.
Okay.
Called Patch Gaps, where we are partnering with the private sector. Where, for example, this bank will say, okay, you know what, we would like to adopt Block 5.
Oh,
you understand what I mean? So go and repair all the potholes in Block 5. We will pay you as X bank.
Yes.
We will pay you for those repairs as part of our, corporate social responsibility, because we've moved forward past the, donating the blankets, and they want to make something more meaningful, something more impactful. Not that donating blankets is not meaningful or is not impactful, but something, that is
something different.
Something different, So we're starting this initiative, and you'll be seeing it soon, where somebody will just be able to will be able to send a pin location to a pothole, and within 48 hours that pothole is fixed. A pin location.
I have a problem with the road between Dibete and the side. There's a lot of potholes.
Between Dibete and Atisha?
Yeah, and Atisha.
When last were you on that road?
December. I was there December. It was better. December.
It was better.
I would say it was better than when I was there. I think around September. I went there around September. It was worse September.
Yeah. We just finished it in think February or March. Yeah, we just finished it in February or March. But obviously, because due to limitation in terms of funds, we couldn't do the entire stretch.
Yeah.
So it's much better now.
It's much better.
If you ride on it,
Yeah.
it's much better now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that all you want to touch on the profile, or there's something else that you missed?
No, on the profile side, just that, you know, people should watch the space.
Yeah.
There's something that is very exciting. It's one of the it's one of the it's an exciting
Okay.
something exciting to look forward to.
Okay, let's talk about politics. We cannot finish the conversation without talking about politics.
Politics.
I mean, you are part of the legacy of the BDP. Should I say the Botswana Democratic Party?
Yes.
We saw the big change.
Yes.
It lost elections after, is it 58 years?
58, yeah.
Yes. How was that? Where were you, and how did you receive the news?
I was at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Facebook.
I was at home on Facebook, with the radio also blasting away. And, you know, there's that song that Radio Botswana plays, you know, as they're about to announce a parliamentary seat.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm just listening to this and could see that, okay, no, but it's
There's still hope.
There's absolutely nothing here. It's real. It's happening.
Yeah.
Change has arrived. But in as much as it happened,
Yeah.
I feel that it needed to happen.
Okay.
Yes.
Just expand on that.
It needed to happen in the sense that, you know, obviously the BDP was in power for 58 years.
Yes.
But, you know, it needed to happen in the sense that we've always been a multi-party democracy. And that was our pride, that, you know, we're a multi-party democracy. We uphold the spirit and principles of democracy, which we have always done for many years. But this time, it was a real defining moment for democracy, because then it showed us that our democracy has matured to the point
it was
where,
tested.
Yes, it was tested to a point where, you know, there was a change of guard and the transition was as smooth as ever. I had friends from just across north of Dibete, across, that I went to school with. Hey, so you guys are just going to just let it go just like that? Here there's no time for that stuff. You see. So, but it was like, no, but this is
so
democracy.
They wanted what? You to resist this thing?
No, I think many people just thought that, I mean, after 58 years, look, you know, we've seen it happen in other African countries where people did not want to, you know, to let go. So, you know, for us, it really tested our democracy. And, you know, at the end of the day, democracy won. And, you know, the former president.
Because some people were saying, especially people from outside the country, were saying, you guys are always saying Botswana is peaceful and democratic, but you guys have never power being taken from a ruling party.
Absolutely.
So until that happens, that's when we'll say. But it did happen.
It happened, and it was a smooth transition of power, and you know, and we can only be, you know, and when I say it needed to happen, is that, you know, look, even for us, you know, it needed to reach a point where, you know, we were too complacent. Yeah, we were too complacent, and riding off the whole thing that, you know, but Botswana is red, black, and white, you know, and people showed us that no. But if you're not going to serve our interests the way we expect you to serve our interests and the way you said you would serve our interests, then we are going to remove you. And they removed us.
So is that what you think contributed to the loss?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing else that I can attribute to it. I mean, there were many other factors and things that were happening, that were sort of unpalatable. But, ultimately, Botswana made a decision.
Yeah.
And it is for us to respect that decision, and we respected that decision. And now we're fixing, ourselves internally and reflecting on where could we have gone wrong, and fixing where, the areas in which we erred. And
I was gonna say, how was the rebranding? Because I see that there's a rebranding of the BDP.
No, not rebranding
not
per se.
I think I used the wrong word there.
Rejuvenating, and going back to basics.
That's your father's famous line.
Yes, and going back to the basics, and going back to the ethos and the principles and the values that made the organization what it was, that the foundation of it that was laid out by our forefathers, so that is the exercise that we're currently on.
Do you think BDP can bounce back from this?
Yes.
This loss?
Yes.
You think you can bounce back?
Yes.
As early as 2029, or you see it beyond that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are very confident in that.
Extremely.
Why do you say that?
I say that because when it comes to acceptance, you reach a point where something happens, and then you have to accept and you have to reflect on where I could have gone wrong. And the energy and the way in which the parties uniting behind our new leader, and the steps that we are taking as a party, and the enthusiasm that is there as a party at such an early stage is very encouraging.
Yeah.
It's very encouraging. And there's no politician that can say that, no, we're going to lose the next election.
Yeah, we're going to lose.
Yes, there's no one who's going to say that. But, I believe so, that we will bounce back.
Yeah.
I believe that the steps that we're taking, the way that we are gearing ourselves and preparing ourselves and restructuring ourselves and reorganizing ourselves is very encouraging. It's showing an organization that is committed and that has accepted its faults and is willing to
And we see that the president, I would say the leader of the BDP now, Rabalopi, is going around saying they're apologizing to Botswana for rowing. Are you agreeing with those apologies?
Am I agreeing with them?
Yeah. Do you think it's a good thing to go around and apologize?
Yes, it's a good thing to apologize.
Yeah.
An apology can never be a bad thing.
Yeah.
An apology can never be a bad thing, especially if you have erred. Especially if you have erred. And the only way to reconcile with somebody is after, you apologize to them.
Yeah.
And then it's up to them to decide whether they accept that apology or not. They do not have to accept the apology. But the mere fact that you took that initiative to embrace and come and knock on my door and say, look, I'm sorry. for me, I think that an apology can never ever be a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what do you think of the UDC government so far? It's been, is it 8 months or 10 months? Yeah.
It's been 8 or 10 months. What do I think of the UDC government? I think the UDC government needs to be given a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they need to be given a chance. Look, they signed a social contract with the country.
Yeah.
The manifesto. A manifesto is a social contract that you get into with your people.
Yeah.
And they have set themselves out tasks and objectives that they want to achieve. And because at the end of the day, you need to. We're all part of different political organization. But what counts at the end of the day, what's number one is Botswana and Botswana.
Yeah.
You understand? So we have a new administration. They have set themselves targets, and it is for us to give them the space to undertake that mandate and realize those objectives.
Okay.
Whether they realize those objectives or not, Botswana will determine whether they give them a second mandate or not. So I'm not one for, when there's something, this happens, and you want to, no, let's
just give them a chance.
Let's give them an opportunity. Yeah. Let's give them a chance. Because at the end of the day, Botswana made that decision. They said that, look, we want to go this way.
Yeah.
And we need to.
Maybe it's because you are not used to being on the opposing side. That's why.
It's very painful being on the opposing side.
Because you don't know what to oppose and where to start.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what to oppose and how to oppose it. You understand? So but we are learning. Everything in life you learn every day.
Yeah.
Experience is your best teacher. So we are learning.
Okay.
At the same time, but making sure that we're organizing ourselves and preparing ourselves.
Okay. Earlier on, you did say your dad did not let you guys go around saying, "Yeah, I'm the son of." Daniel Kwelagobe. But what I've noticed nowadays is just that the president's son, or should I say sons, are being put on a pedestal. They're being judged. Whatever they do, they're being judged. What do you think of that? Because you kind of like grew up in a political home like that. Do you think it's hard for the son as opposed to the daughter being judged? Because, okay, let me say something again. Because if you look at our history, we have never had like the first son. It's been a while. If you go back, it's the last one. It's Re Masisi. They had a daughter, and then Ke Ian Khama, no kids, and then it's Mogai. There was Nametso. Is it Nametso?
Yeah, it was 3 girls.
Yeah, it was 3 girls.
Yeah.
And then there's Masire also, daughters.
Yeah.
Were they daughters?
Masire, there was I think, with Masire there was a boy. So it's since Masire.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you would understand it's since Masire, but then the bigger one was the one where Saratsa Khama, where he had those Re Ian Khama who went and became the president, and then there's the twins. So in your view, would you say the son is more judged more than the daughters?
Well, I wouldn't. I haven't heard anything about the daughters. I haven't heard anything about the daughters. I've only heard about the one son. But you see, like I said, it would be very difficult for me to comment on that because you see, I only started getting into business. My father was very cautious in terms of me doing business with government. That is why from the moment I went into business, I only started doing business with government after he was out of government.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? Because it is that principle for him that, you know what, I do not want now for the lines to be blurred.
Yeah.
And, you know, to avoid, in as much as, yes, you're ambitious, in as much as, yes, you want to get into business, but equally, I'm just uncomfortable with you getting into business while I'm in government.
Yeah.
And that is why I waited so long. Only after he was out of government, that is when I started doing business with government. So I think it's different for each individual. I personally, from my point of view, because I haven't done it, it's very difficult for me to comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why it's a problem for other people to comment, because, like you say, now if your dad was still in government and you are still working for the government, then there will be a lot of talks about that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just to touch on your in your political career, are you thinking about joining the politics? I mean, we see you running for...
I'm in politics.
Not join. I mean, being a candidate and running for a seat one day.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. But I've always been a person who operates from behind the scenes. I never like to be like when I say to you that, you know, this is my first sort of, you know, podcast or, you know, interview, or, you know, because I just prefer to always be behind the scenes. And I feel that, you know, I'm not quite yet ready to, you know, step up.
Yeah.
Because also the other thing is that then, you know, there's always be that comparison, and then to, you know, so
people are gonna expect you to be here.
Yeah, so those are huge shoes to fill. I will never be able to fill those shoes, but what I can do is to make sure that I contribute to society. I contribute towards making sure that the aspirations of our people are realized, and making that type of contribution. And you know, whether you are doing it as an MP or whether you are doing it behind the scenes, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, it's the impact that you are making in people's life, and you contributing towards that.
Okay. Let's just have your final thoughts, just your journey so far and your hopes for the country. Just your final thoughts on that.
My hopes for the country is that we are able to get out of the slump that we're in, the economic slump that we're in. It has been challenging. Government is the new administration has a lot of work, a lot on their plate. You know, and it's really about just hoping that, you know, things will progress. And that, you know, I see that we've got some investments going with the Qataris.
There's 12 billion.
12 billion. Yeah, so those, you know, that's encouraging. You know, that's what, you know, would like to hear. And, you know, but like I said, the road ahead is quite bumpy. And coupled with, you know, the objectives and what you have promised you're going to achieve. in the time you have said that you are going to achieve those things. So it's really to wish them well.
Yeah.
And yeah, and make sure that whilst we're there, we are preparing ourselves and making sure that we are once again an alternative should there be Botswana, should they gongwe ba ka re nyame go raya gore go ha ne re irile phoso a re boeleng gae. We need to make sure gore legae leo ba itlhela legae le ala le le ntšha le le renovatilweng le le ready to serve them once again. Yeah. But yeah, so but it's just to, you know, for us to be positive. And like I said at the beginning, it's Botswana and Botswana first. And whoever's in charge, it could be any formation, whether it was BCP, UDC, or whatever. It's to you know, to really wish them well, because we really want the aspirations of the people to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you.
Yes. There you have it, guys. It's Kagiso Kwelagobe. He just gave us his journey on business and his political views on Botswana. Don't forget that we are shooting from the Content Center. If you want to use these facilities, you can just, I'll leave down the details on the description. It's a Point Blank Podcast on Facebook, on TikTok, and also on Facebook or on YouTube. Just like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next show. Am I improving?
You will get there. You should attend my classes. Like I said,
I'm improving. I've never done this. I've never.
Schedule